Right.
All right, Bert.
Joanna.
Hi, Joanna.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
I heard a lot about you. Actually, I heard a lot about your, so you know the purpose of our meeting, right?
Right.
So thanks a lot, first of all, for meeting with me. I appreciate that.
Sure.
I heard a lot about you, your expertise in Indonesia, and I'm actually looking forward to having you on my team. So as you know, actually our company is moving with a new strategy into the Indonesian market. And I think in the interest of the company, in the interest of the project, it's definitely useful to get to know each other better.
Sure.
And I actually also value your input on the draft strategy that we have. So you gave me some feedback, so I want to discuss that with you, see if I understand your input and how we can use that one to have the best possible strategy actually to make this project a success for the company. And finally, I would also like to discuss like how we can work together. Means like both short term actually and then long term.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to hear. I would definitely be willing to discuss short and long term options for working together.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So maybe if you want, we can maybe have a quick look first about what's your expectations for our collaboration, short term and long term.
Sure. So I think for me, where I'm coming from, or my interests, is that I want to help you out, because you've emailed me and you've asked me my opinion on the Indonesia strategy. And so I guess I'm curious about what you'd like to know about the Indonesia strategy. I think that's a good place for me to start. So I'm curious about what you'd like to know about the Indonesia strategy.
So let me start with my personal short story, right? So I just recently got appointed to Indonesia. So I was based in Singapore, as actually you were too. So it's kind of a promotion that I got for the Lost project, which was really successful. You might have heard about it. And so the idea is actually have this new strategy. We had a couple of discussions with the CEO already. But next week or in 2 weeks, we actually have a presentation that we have to give to the CEO about the strategy. So the thing is, I worked in Indonesia before on project basis, but never had like the real like immersion as actually you did. So actually, when I knew that you would be like one of the people working with me, I figured that like the strategy which I had in mind, which is M&A, right? Like it's true aggressive M&A. I would actually value your input on that one too, because you definitely have like another perspective on that one. The reason why is that I feel like, so my main goal is to bring this project to a success, right? And I want to use all the resources that we have available within our company, within my team. So you're definitely one of the great assets that I have on my team. So that's why I value your input.
So what kind of input are you looking for?
So first of all, I saw that you disagreed on the M&A strategy, that you instead were focusing on a more organic strategy.
Correct.
Do you have what's the reasoning behind that for you?
So I think for me, where I'm coming from, is that I feel that as you're my boss, I feel like the information that I have, the expertise that I have from being so involved in the Indonesian market isn't. I'm feeling a bit used, and I don't feel like the company has really gone out and done their own research in terms of what the correct strategy should be, and instead they're focusing on my expertise. And since they're focusing on my expertise, there's a couple things that I'd actually like to discuss just right off the bat, I guess. So from a personal standpoint, like I have been feeling really disconnected from my family who lives in Jakarta. And when I actually I'd be interested in talking to you about perhaps relocating to Jakarta in exchange for some of this information, whether it's relocating to Jakarta or maybe even perhaps.
We're taking a negotiation.
Sorry, I have an interview call in 20 minutes. I booked this room for that.
Okay. We'll be done in 15 minutes.
Okay.
What's that? That's 1:30? What time is your call?
Yeah, it starts at 1:30.
Okay, cool. Sure, no worries.
So I'm just looking for a way for us to all kind of get value out of this situation. I'd like to actually talk to you about a raise or perhaps relocating to Jakarta.
Okay, I see
And
that.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
So I understand. Okay, you say on the one hand you have like this, you want to be close to your family, right? Which is totally understandable. You also mentioned the possibility of a raise, right?
Right. So I feel like I'm being used in my position, but I'm being taken advantage of a little bit because I feel like the company hasn't really done all that they could to foresee a good strategy, and they're just kind of using my expertise without giving me any value.
I understand. Okay. So how I was thinking about this was actually one of the things I wanted to discuss with you. So maybe number one is obviously, I mean, there's a strategy we have to outline before we finally agree on it with the CEO. So you're right. I mean, your expertise is something really valuable in the company. Maybe some of the research was indeed a bit light. I'm not 100% sure about that because I was not doing all of the due diligence on that one.
Sure.
But regardless, we would definitely in any case have asked for your expertise because we have it, right? And it's like one of the added values too. On the other side, I totally understand too that like you have some requests too on your side, which is totally legitimate. I think
Recognition, basically.
I totally agree with that. I can totally understand. So maybe what I suggest is that we discuss maybe first a little bit how we see the project running from today, short term and long term.
Sure.
Because I don't know if you first this. Obviously, there's a strategy part. But I think if you have an idea of how the project is going to run, we can also see if there's any opportunities, for instance, for you to relocating to Indonesia. What kind of roles would you be able to take in the project at that point?
Sure.
Things like that.
Sure. So I think if we move to a more organic strategy rather than an acquisition strategy. I think that you're going to need somebody on the ground in Indonesia kind of overseeing that. And I think that would be a great candidate, especially with my expertise, to head that operation.
Okay.
So that would bring me closer to my family, in Jakarta, and obviously would benefit you as well because then you would have somebody, who's an expert in that field, really running things on the ground, reporting back to you and giving you those key insights that you would need.
Okay, I see. So that's an advantage that you see from the organic play for you, right? Having a person on the ground. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that it would only be fitting if I was given that new position to also be given at least a 30% raise.
Okay, and what's the reason for the raise, or how do you frame that?
New responsibilities.
Okay.
Would require 30% raise. You're giving me more responsibility, and I'm giving you my expertise.
When we talk about organic strategy, what's the added value of the organic strategy for the company if you compare it to the M&A strategy?
So the strategy that you're trying right now has been tried before by another company, and it hasn't worked.
Okay.
And so I have information to back that up. And I'm not sure if you know about that information or not.
I don't actually.
Okay, so I know that the strategy that you're proposing won't work.
Okay.
And I know how to make my strategy work. Yeah.
Okay, I see. So what's the? I'm trying to understand, right?
Sure. So here, I'll just. Okay, sure. So, the idea that I have, I'm a little reluctant to talk about it without at least some vote of confidence from you that would show me that if I tell you what I know about this region, that you won't just take it and then fire me and then and then just go ahead with my strategy.
Okay, I see.
That's what I'm afraid of is just being fired from the job after you take the information that you need.
Let me be very honest with you. So basically, with the M&A strategy, we will also need someone on the ground.
Okay.
And I've been thinking about you too.
Perfect.
So that's definitely a great fit. I think, in my opinion, also one of the reasons I want to meet with you too is also to get to know you better and see if we can collaborate in the future and how we can collaborate.
Sure.
Now, I see two things. So first of all, I mean, you definitely have your expertise. I'm actually, I think I already see, like you mentioned this previous company. I didn't know about that, so that's definitely really valuable. So I think that's definitely a good plus.
Yeah, we should definitely talk about that.
Yeah, I do think though that I'm a bit uncomfortable with the way this conversation is going. You know, the transactional nature of it.
And what are you uncomfortable about?
The fact that, I mean, I feel not sharing information.
Sure.
The idea would be that if we work together on this one, so I will be leading the project still from Singapore.
Sure.
And the idea is we also need someone on the ground,
which
is going to be based in Indonesia.
Sure.
But if we go for this together, we should have to work as a team.
And I completely and totally understand that. I'm just afraid of this situation and afraid of losing my job, and so I don't want to.
Okay.
Show all my cards up front without at least some knowledge of and the fact that you want to move forward and that you're thinking about having me on the ground as a potential, or thinking of me as a potential candidate to have on the ground, is fantastic to hear.
I have a good question. Is there any other, just for my information, right? Is there any rumors about me that is going around in Indonesia that I have to be aware of if I want to make this project work?
Not that I can really think of. No.
Okay. Well, I guess that's okay. That's nothing I have to worry too much maybe about at this point. Okay, let's do it this way then. So, if I'm going to the CEO, regardless which strategy we have, if this conversation goes well, I'm totally happy to. What goes well means, I mean, I feel there's some incentive for you, some commitment to the project and the project success. Then I'm totally happy to commit to advocate for you working on this project, being based in Indonesia, to the CEO when I present the project to the CEO next week. I can even invite you to participate in the meeting.
I would love that.
Yeah, totally. So I think in exchange, there's two things on the side note. I think one, we should have a discussion about strategy, which one's going to be the best one, because that's a recommendation.
I completely agree.
Number two, and that's maybe something I cannot meet from my side, is at the race. So at this point, there's no way to do a race. That's due to project constraints.
Okay.
Something I can propose though is, at this point, I'm more brainstorming. It's not a formal commitment, but if the cooperation goes well, at some point this project is going to take off, and they will need a local director. It will not be just a project representative. They will need a country director taking care of the whole project. So my idea would be, this is not only a position that you would be taking on the short term, but long term there's a huge growth potential on that one too.
Sure.
So even if you don't have the raise now, you will can keep your Singapore salary when you go to Indonesia, and there is the huge potential upside once you raise there.
So what you're saying is that you would, if I was to head the project in Indonesia, that I would be relocated to Jakarta.
That's right.
Okay. So then. And then you're also saying that if you had a meeting with the CEO, that you would bring me in to also be. Okay. Yeah. So then why don't we go ahead and talk about the strategy?
Sure. Shall we interrupt our discussion for 2 minutes and let the guy in?
Yeah, of course.